Hello, welcome to IDDTalks. My name is Anastasia Lavrina, and now I'm joined by a very distinguished guest from Georgia, Tbilisi, Mr. Victor Kipiani, chairman of Geocase, a Tbilisi-based think tank. Warm welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining our discussion today. So let me start with a very significant but basic question at the same time. Georgia has long been positioned as a main transit hub in the South Caucasus. There are a lot of number of projects connecting Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, and Europe, with a multiple new connectivity project emerging here, including Zangezur Corridor, or as it being described in Washington as a Trump corridor connecting Azerbaijan and Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic through the territory of modern Armenia. Do you feel Georgia's strategic importance is growing or facing new competition?
It's a very right question and very precise question to start this conversation with. I have to be very, very honest with you and very open-minded. It's been a lot of discussions these days in Georgia because of different developments in the region and beyond the region. And my personal position that what has been granted to Georgia by default after the fall of Soviet Union on all those major projects which ran and still are running across Georgia. Of course, avail Georgia was unique opportunity to be, as I keep saying, the local state and the keystone state when it comes to implementing those projects. And I'm also adding to those observations that due to those projects, we have acquired our own business card, introducing ourselves to the region and to the global world. These days, however, when different matters are in discussion in the course of discussions, and not just so in the course of discussions, but being implemented, that's primarily the Trump route for peace and prosperity. Of course, in different professional circles of Georgia, the key question raised is about whether that competitiveness has increased or decreased. I would rather avoid and will put aside those connotations increasing and decreasing. I think that, to my view, any type of competition is good. And what has been granted by default, these days, those developments, they trigger Georgia to look at its own capabilities and assess them as critical as possible. That is one point. So those developments are of benign effects and benign triggering effect to proceed with modernizing Georgian transport infrastructure, including, and being on the par with our neighbors. On another side, and the second point, very briefly, why those developments are good, that those developments are putting the region on the map. And they are embedding the South Caucasus with the new contents. The South Caucasus, the regional geostrata, is becoming more in demand, increases its competitiveness, and also increases its viability. So either from Georgian perspective or from Armenian perspective or from Azerbaijan's perspective, that should be viewed as a win-win scenario. So that being said, again, I think that all in all, taking into account all the pluses and minuses from very peculiar Georgian perspectives, these developments are to the benefit of Georgia, including and to the region as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Kipiani, I know that you are very well aware about the processes taking place in the region of the South Caucasus, especially between Armenia and Azerbaijan in the post-conflict developments. We see now the practical examples on how the cargo is being delivered from Russia, let's say, through Azerbaijan, Georgia to Armenia. And there is also a train carrying Azerbaijani fuel in transit through Georgia to Armenia. There's real practical examples on how the countries are willing to develop their transport links, cooperations, and cargo delivery. Do you think and do you believe that these developments signal a new level of economic normalization in the region?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, Anastasia. For many decades, the South Caucasus has been associated with all the toxic phenomena and connotations, civil wars, strifes, interstate wars, and that legacy has to be left behind. And therefore, the developments which we're witnessing these days and which we will be facing, hopefully in the near future, will sort of reshape the image of the South Caucasus. And that is the reason why I'm saying that those developments are to the positivity of all the three nations. As for, and again, to get back to this phenomena of South Caucasian geostrata, we should also realize and take into account that we're not alone in this world, and this region has always to struggle for its viability and for its competitiveness. There are a number of projects which come into the competition with each other. The very recent one, which has been announced on the basis of the free trade agreement between European Union and India, which is about very major infrastructure and transport corridor connecting India, the Middle East, and European Economic Corridor. So again, the cooperation between Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan rings a bell, and has to be very timely. And on top of the infrastructure projects, I would also be thinking of different other initiatives. For example, to my mind, considering or opening discussions about South Caucasian free trade space, thinking about free economic zones, or considering the notion or the concept of a South Caucasian legal entity, corporate legal entity, the so-called South Caucasian corporate passport, or considering and discussing an option for setting up an equivalent, let's say, of EBRD, which could be sort of, South Caucasian Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So I think, again, the unity would be to the benefits of all of us, and would increase, again, attractiveness and competitiveness of the South Caucasian investment portfolio. And since nothing is granted in this world, which became so much about egos and become so much about give and take, I think that we should be looking into the eyes of realistic global politics, which is not about the likes or dislikes, but being the contributor, not just being the consumer, but being the contributor. So I think that this new era is knocking at our doors, and we should accommodate ourselves appropriately.
Indeed, very interesting point, Mr. Kipiani. So, United States recently shown a stronger interest in regional connectivity initiatives, especially after the meeting held in Washington on August 8 in 2025 last year, with the participation of President Ilham Aliyev, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, and American leader himself, Donald Trump. So Washington is paying in particular attention to the developments of the transport links and connectivity in the region in between of Azerbaijan and Armenia. There are so many statements being made by Donald Trump. So at the same time, we cannot hear any particular reference in Washington on the development processes in Georgia. So how is this situation being perceived in Georgia itself? Do you feel that there is some changes in the attitude of Washington towards Tbilisi? And overall, what's your opinion on the situation?
Thank you for this question, Anastasia, because over the last years, we have witnessed a growing skepticism about whether the Western presence and the U.S. presence has been as robust in the region as it's been in the 20s.
and signing the well-known documents in DC back on August 8th this year has gave a clear signal and clear message that we're on the radars of the United States. And it's not just about ticking the box, but again about polishing and sort of enriching the economic potential of the region. But on top of the economic potential of the region, big investments always come with some security considerations as well. And security considerations, which are typically tied up with large investments, should not be discarded. That matters for the South Caucasus. That matters especially for Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia, because the local actors are given with more ample opportunities to hedge their policies. Some people are calling this multi-vector policies, all alignment, but names do not matter to me, frankly saying, but the substance matters. And I think, wider options we have, more ample choices we have, and we will be having, better for us, because for quite considerable period of time, we've been under the shadows of the Russian Federation, and that's been dominating over the foreign policy choices and over the domestic policy choices. So with an entry of United States in the region, or I would say with the re-entry rather than entry of the United States into the region, and we were familiar with historical developments after the fall of the Soviet Union, that Georgia has been the front runner of pro-European and pro-Euro-Atlantic integration these days, when we are considered on an equal footing and equally placed under the investment and geopolitical considerations of the United States and our allies and partners. I think, again, that is entirely, completely, and unreservedly to the benefit of the region, because it avails us with a better space of geopolitical and geoeconomical maneuver.
Very interesting. So, Mr. Kipiani, thank you. Thank you so much for joining IDDTalks today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.